Hello, everybody. I'm Janina Fisher, and I have been part of the trauma treatment field since 1989 and have had the great pleasure of watching a field which had not previously existed begin to take shape and to actually come to a better understanding of what it means to be traumatized and how we as therapists can treat trauma. And I wanted to share with you some of the findings of this research that really pertain to what you do every day. One of the most robust findings of the brain scan research is that when clients experience a trauma response, they get triggered, they get startled, a memory comes up, the prefrontal cortex, this part of the brain right here, goes offline. And when that part of the brain goes offline, we lose a number of very important skills. We lose the ability for self-awareness. We lose the ability to express ourselves in words. We lose access to memory centers, so we can't remember the skills. You may often wonder, why can my clients not remember their skills? Why can't they remember their contracts? Why can't they remember their crisis plan? And the answer is because this part of the brain is where we store that information. And when the entire prefrontal cortex goes dark, we don't have access to that part of the brain. This is also a problem in the one-to-one psychotherapy context because it means that our clients can't take in and recall or generalize what they learn in therapy. You've all had that experience. The client has a really powerful session. It feels like some big change has occurred, and then comes back the next week with no memory of the session or a vague recollection. So one of the things I've learned is that handouts really help clients whose prefrontal cortex is offline because it gives them something structured on a piece of paper, and when they look at it, as long as it's not too complex, when they look at it, this part of the brain starts to fire because this part of the brain is responsible for focus and concentration. And as they start to fill it out, they begin to get more activity in the prefrontal cortex, more ability to think and express themselves in words. But these handouts are not just exercises for the prefrontal cortex. These handouts speak very directly to the trauma symptoms for which your client is seeking treatment. The first one, the autonomic arousal diagram, gives your client a chance to look at how his or her nervous system is reacting to the world. Does the client have an overly reactive nervous system, driving impulsivity or flashbacks or anxiety or even rage? Or does the client have a nervous system that is in a chronic low activation state, consistent with submission patterns, so that your client is numb, disconnected, and sometimes barely there? Having clients work with this worksheet helps them to see the patterns that you may already be aware of, but they can't be because awareness depends on this part of the brain. And once they begin to get a sense of how their nervous systems result in either too much emotion or too little, often they're ready for the next handout, which I call the daily experiences log, which could also be termed differentiating past and present. But I prefer them to think of it as a daily experiences log. And it asks them to notice the stimuli or triggers in the environment, notice their reactions, and then become curious. Is this reaction more consistent with what I lived through in the past, or is this reaction more consistent with what's happening right here, right now? And often, as with every handout, every exercise, every skill I might teach a client, remember the importance of first practicing it in your office. Because as I always say, clients who can't do it with the therapist in the office are not going to be able to do it at home. Very few will find it easier to do at home without some support. And once they begin to use the daily experiences log, your clients can begin to look at how much time their minds and bodies are in the past rather than the present. And that's very, very important for us to know. We have brains that time travel, but it's very helpful to know where we are historically, in what time zone we are. And then when they get fluent or comfortable with the daily experiences log, I can introduce the somatic awareness log, which really teaches them that they can change their states. That's the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to allow clients to be curious about their distress, to be curious about their physiological reactions, and then to practice ways of shifting those states. Because part of what's so difficult for our clients is the sense that they can't shift the anxiety. They can't stop the angry outbursts. They can't even budge the shame. So in the somatic awareness log, it's a way to teach clients to notice what they're feeling, to notice their thoughts, look at how consistent it is with CBT, and then to just experiment with what happens if they make a movement, make a gesture, stand up, step forward, step back, turn their heads. Any little action, because often a physical action changes our state better than analyzing it, and certainly much better than wishing we didn't feel that way. So I share these handouts with you because they've been very useful to my clients and to me over the years, and I hope that your clients find them useful as well.